Ready?
Okay. All right, guys. So, yesterday we read scene 3, and we have been talking about first person point of view, second person point of view, third person point of view, and we've been learning some more and reviewing about Ruby Bridges and her story. Can somebody recap for me what scene 3 was about? Make sure you raise your hand. Tazaya, go ahead.
Uh, Scene 3 was about how the
We can't hear you, Tazaya. Soraya, help her out because I think something wrong with her mic.
Scene 3 was about Ruby and Mrs. Bridges talking about moving, and Ruby said, "What about my friends?" And Mrs. Bridges said, "You'll make new friends, honey."
Yes. So Mrs. Bridges decided to tell Ruby that she will be going to a new school and that this new school is filled with white people and that this is a big step and moment for her. Who comes knocking at the door when Ruby is about to go to school? Who comes knocking at the door? Rashad.
Two white marshals.
Two white marshals, and what are they going to do?
They're gonna walk Ruby to school.
Okay, and what happens when they walk Ruby to school?
Uh,
Rashad, I'm going to call on somebody else, okay? But thank you. Go ahead, Tazaya.
When they get to the school, they get surrounded by a mob of white people protesting for Ruby not to go in the school, and the white parents are taking their kids out of school because of it
Good
and
job.
because of Ruby.
Good job, Tazaya. Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to now understand how to identify the character or the speaker's point of view so that we can determine how this point of view influences how events are described. So it's telling us that we have to read scenes 3 to 5, but we already read scene 3 yesterday, so we're kind of ahead of the game. And what we're going to do is identify Ruby Bridges' point of view about being the only Black student to attend William Francis Elementary and determine how this perspective influences how the events in the story are described. So, who remembers our fast graphic organizer? And who can tell me about feelings? Since we reviewed this a couple of times. Antoine.
the feeling that the character have is like if they're happy or sad.
Good job, Antoine. Who can tell me about the thoughts? Zariah is on a roll. Go ahead, Zariah.
The thought is, what are the characters or the speaker thinking about?
Thank you. Good job. Okay, who can tell me about the action? What about the action? What do we write in the action box? Sakura.
What is they doing?
Yeah, what are they doing? And then last but not least, the dialogue. What do we talk about in the dialogue? Zamaya.
About what the characters are talking about.
Talking about with who? What does the word dialogue mean?
Talk.
Just talk in general.
No, like talk to another character or something like that.
Okay, good. They can have internal conversations as well. What does that mean when they have internal conversations, Jakari?
It means that, like, how they're saying it.
So if I'm having an internal conversation, who am I talking to? Am I talking to another character or I'm talking to myself?
Another character.
Who agrees and disagrees with him? Does anybody disagree with him? You can raise your hand. So I disagree with Jakari because internal means that I am having a conversation with myself. I'm having thoughts and these little conversations within my thoughts about what is happening. Okay, so we have to make sure that we understand that. Okay, let's move on. Okay, we are going to skip this part only because we read scene 3 already and we just recapped it. So what I want you to do is, oh, we skipped something. Let's go back, because they were supposed to be, or maybe not. Okay, we're gonna go to the end of scene 3, so you should be here. Because the other 2 is still scene 3, but it's not the end of scene 3, and they just have it in there so you guys can see the whole scene. So what we're doing right now is that we're going to write about Ruby and her point of view, and I want you to tell me, how does Ruby's point of view on her experience at William Francis Elementary as a child influence her feelings and actions as an adult? So right now we can only answer a part of that question, but later on, as we move into scene 4 and 5, we can finish it. So I want you to think about how Ruby felt when her mother told her that she was going to go to this new school filled with white people and that she won't be able to see her old friends again. And then 2 marshals come up and they bring her to the school. So I want you to think about how she feels, what actions took place with the adults around her. Think about some of the thoughts that she may have that are going through her head, and think about who she spoke to. You may start. I'm also going to share my the fast graphic organizer so you guys can have an idea or remember what you need to write about for each box, because I think this was helpful yesterday. So Antoine, I need you to get in progress. Rashad, I need you to get in progress. Brian, I need you to get in progress. You should be inside. Make sure that you write the name in the middle before you start writing inside of the boxes. And make sure you're writing in complete sentences. So I shouldn't see sad inside of the box. Ruby is sad because, or Ruby is scared because, or Ruby is happy because. We have to write complete sentences, guys. And please make sure that you reread over your work before you submit it in. But right now, you're not submitting anything in. You're just filling in the boxes. Rashad, what's going on? You having a hard time?
If you're doing Ruby,
Yes. Are you on the wrong slide? Because everybody else is on that slide and it's saying that you're not on. So you might want to check to see what slide. We're going to the end because we read the whole scene already. Okay? There you go. You should now be writing in box number 2, which is actions. Most of you are in box number 2. Think about what the action column is saying to you. You're finding the details in the text that describe something the character does. Everybody should be in the second box. You are now in the action box. I'm going to give you another minute before we move on to the thought box. You should now be in the thought box. Everybody should be working in the thought box. Feelings, actions should be done already. Make sure you're rereading over your work. I'm going to give you another minute for the thought box, and then we're going to move on to dialogue. Jakari, I think you should look over your work, especially in the dialogue box. You should now be in the last box. Make sure you're completing what dialogue she is talking in the scene 3. What the author uses is the character's ideas, what they think and how they feel about what's happening around them. A character talks and thinks about important concepts in the story. Think about what the words that they're saying. Does the character talk the same to all the characters? What do the words reveal about his or her personality? Going to give you another minute. You have 30 seconds. Make sure you're telling me what point of view. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and done. You guys should be submitting it in. Jakari submitted it. Tazaya submitted it. Antoine, I need you to submit. Sakura submit. Anaya submit. Everybody should be submitting in their work. Brian, let's go. Jaden, let's go. Zamaya, let's go. Okay, so I am, yes.
Can I finish?
Brian, you had more than enough time to finish. But what we can do is you want to finish out loud and tell me what you wrote about?
I wrote about how she felt because of what she did.
So are we talking about Ruby entering a school, or are we talking about Ruby as an adult?
Yes, as an adult.
So, Brianna, I told you to do scene 3. So when she enters the school, of how she's feeling, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with Jakari. Jakari, tell me what you wrote about How did Ruby feel? I just want you to talk about what you wrote in your feeling box.
I wrote that Ruby feels sad because she missed all her old friends at her old school. Because she said it last night when her mom had put her bed.
Okay, good. Who can tell me what they actually, Sakura, tell me what you wrote about in action.
I said that she walking with the marshals to
She's walking with the marshals to where?
the school.
The school. And then to Zaya, tell me what you wrote about in the thought box.
I wrote that I think Ruby is thinking about if she will be welcome at her new school.
Yeah, she's having these thoughts. Okay, and Antoine, tell me what you will write. I don't think you finished it yet, but tell me what you would have wrote in the dialogue. So dialogue is when the character tells how they feel of what's happening around them.
I would have wrote she's scared
Yeah,
to go
but
to
what
the
is she
school.
scared of?
She's scared to go to the school because she thinks the people are gonna hurt her
Why?
because they didn't like her skin color.
Okay, and then what are they doing at the school?
They're making threats at her and signs.
They're protesting. Thank you, Antoine. Okay, so we are going to stop here and we are going to go into Miss Trawick. Do you want to read scene 4 or do you want us to have us go into the small groups?
You can go ahead and have them read scene 4
Okay.
just in preparation of what they're going to do tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to make the screen a little bigger, just how we did yesterday, because I feel like it was easier to read. And we're going to move on to scene 4. So, scene 4, I will be a narrator. Marshall 2, I believe, was Rashad, or was it Zariah? I think it was Zariah.
Marshall 2 was Shadeja.
Okay, so Marshall 2 is Shadeja. Marshall 1 is Rashad. Mrs. Bridges. Who was Mrs. Bridges?
Me.
Zamaya was Miss Bridget.
Okay, and Tazaya, are you Ruby?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm going to need a crowd and I'm going to need a parent. Miss Trawick, were you able to assign a crowd and a parent?
Let's make the crowd Shanisha and AW.
Okay.
And let's make a parent Anaya Francis.
Okay. And do we have a Michael and Joanna? Because I know you gave that character out. I just don't remember.
Michael is Antoine and Joanna is Sakura.
Okay. All right, guys, let's get started. Scene 4. The marshal who is driving grips the steering wheel tightly. Marshall 2. Miss Trawick is putting in all of the
Shadeja, you are Marshall too.
Miss Bridges, let us get out of the car first, then you go. We will surround you and your daughter. We want you to look straight ahead and not turn back.
Shut up and turn this alarm off.
Yes, sir.
Mrs. Bridges squeezes Ruby's hand.
You, you got that, Ruby. Yes, Mama. Look straight ahead and not back.
They pulled up in front of the school, and there are policemen everywhere. A huge crowd is gathered behind barricades.
Why are those people waving and shouting? Is this a parade? No, sweetie, it's not a parade.
When they stepped out of the car, the shouts grew even louder.
Go away, we don't want you here. Go home, we don't want you here.
Ruby walks between the marshals, her eyes point straight ahead. As Ruby enters the school, a white parent sees her and gasps. She grabs her son by the wrist.
Andrew, come on. We're leaving.
The parent storms out of the door. Other white parents stream through the halls and take their children home. They do not want their children in the school with a black child. Taziah.
Miss Davis, actually, that is part of scene 5.
Oh, it
Because-
doesn't go. Okay,
No, it goes all the way to the bottom and then back to the top.
got it. All right, so that is scene 4. Let's talk about scene 4 a little bit. Who could tell me what's going on? Shanasia. Go ahead, Shanasia. You had your hand raised.
The mob is yelling at Ruby because they don't want her to be at the white kids' school because she's black.
Thank you. Anaya, can you add on? Anaya W.
What's going on is that Ruby's mother told her not to look behind her because there's people protesting and they don't want her at the school, and all the people was yelling at her. And as soon as a white mother saw Ruby, she grabbed her son and said, "We're going home."
Thank you, Anaya. Jaden, can you tell me what happens when the first parent takes her son out?
When the first person takes her son out, she grabs him by the wrist and we go home. And the rest of the parents were kids. They took their kids home too.
Great job. Okay, so let's go into the thoughts of Ruby. Ruby is not saying that much, but how do you think she feels inside? When she first gets there, what do you think she's thinking? Because she says something to her mother. Jakari.
Can you repeat that?
I said when Ruby first gets to the school, what do you think she's thinking?
Like they are gonna kill her, something, or hurt her?
Who could help him out? Anastasia.
Uh, she she thinks it's like a parade, and she thinks they're there to celebrate something.
Right. So Jakari, does she think that they're gonna kill her? It's okay, Jakari. Gotta pay a little more attention. And what does her mother tell her, Shadeja?
So don't look back and look straight ahead.
I didn't hear anything you said. You're talking into the mic too low.
Her mom told her to don't look back and look straight ahead.
But does she tell her that this was a parade or it wasn't a parade?
She said it's not a parade.
It wasn't a parade. Jaden, you want to add on?
Yes. Ruby thought it was a parade, but it wasn't. And then they were yelling at her, and then her mom told her to keep her eyes forward.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I think you guys did a great job today. I want to give a special shout out to Jaden, Zariah, Tazaya, because you guys kept constantly raising your hand and showing participation. So great job, everyone.
Thank you, Miss Davis, for such a wonderful job. Okay, guys, we are going to